the surrounding different tubules. Okay? So when we look at here, if I had on here, that's the glomerulus itself. Okay? The green on the outside is the glomerular capsule. Okay? And I can look at that glomerular capsule, and it goes down into this tube, which would be the proximal convoluted tubule. Okay, the beginning of that filtration system. All right. Now, on the blood supply side, we have the afferent arteriole coming in, and the efferent arteriole going out. Okay. Afferent arteriole is always larger in diameter. So when I look at these two side by side, this is the bigger one. The other thing with the afferent arteriole, this kind of golden color thing, is that juxtaglomerular apparatus that has the blood pressure sensors, and if blood pressure is low, it releases renin, which is a hormone released into the bloodstream that causes a whole cascade of events that results in constriction of blood vessels, increasing blood pressure. Okay?
Granular cells are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So, afferent arteriole incoming, capillary bed or the glomerulus comes out, efferent arteriole. Now these guys, I'm not going to hold you responsible for all of these, okay? However, on here, we will see them in their entirety, okay? So when I look at these little green gumballs, okay, that's the equivalent of this green covering, the glomerular capsule, okay? And both of these have a key on them, so you'll be able to utilize those, okay? So we can't truly see a glomerulus itself, okay, because they're contained within the green gumballs, okay? I cannot see a juxtaglomerular apparatus on here, right? However, what I do have here, all this structure here, that would be a cortical nephron, so it's in the cortex itself. Down here, the brown represents the medulla, and anything above here represents the cortex. Okay. So this would be an arcuate artery and vein. That's the separating point between the medulla and the cortex. Okay. So if I look at that filtrate flow first, okay, it's going to go from that glomerulus, which is hiding under here, the green gumball, right? It's going to go into the proximal convoluted tubule, and that's the orange. Okay, so that's this over here, proximal convoluted tubule. All this orange here wiggles all over the place. Okay, it's going to come down, and this is the loop of Henle. Okay, we're not worrying about descending loop, ascending loop, nothing like that. Just loop of Henle. Okay, that loop of Henle goes into this tan structure, and that is the distal convoluted tubule. So it's the end of the tube pathway. All right. And then we see that tan thing empty into the yellow, which is a collecting duct. Okay? And there's lots of different collecting ducts that attach onto each one, or nephrons that attach onto each one. And then those are going to go down into those minor calyces, okay? Those initial points, and then they go into the major calyces. Okay? So that makes this a cortical nephron. Okay? Over here, this is a juxtamedullary nephron, but it has the same parts. Okay? That glomerulus would be hiding in the green gumball. Right? We have the orange, which is the proximal convoluted tubule. Still comes down through that loop of Henle, and now it goes into the distal convoluted tubule, into the collecting duct. Okay? So that's the filtrate part.
And the different way to kind of tell them apart is the capillaries, don't they?
The one is the capillaries, because here we see the capillaries down here in this one. Mm-hmm. And one up here we see it here. The other thing is, look how far the loop of Henle extends. This one is going into the medulla. This one's staying in the cortex. Okay? So a juxtamedullary nephron next to the medulla. Cortical nephron contained in the cortex. Okay? Now the other thing we need to look at is blood supply. All right? So imagine, if this was to scale, this kidney would take up like the whole room. Okay? So what happens is, here is a, can I have that model for a second? Okay, so where we are in this model, it would be like you took a little slice from right here. Okay, so right in here, right in here. All right, so we have the cortex on the top, and then we have the medulla down here. Now, with the blood flow coming in, renal artery, all right, That branches into segmental arteries. Okay? Then those segmental arteries went between the renal pyramids or lobes, called those interlobar arteries. And then they arched above the medulla. Okay? Arcuate arteries. That's what this is. That's an arcuate artery. Okay? Here, here. That would be continuous. Okay? That's an arcuate artery. So that's this. So from the arcuate artery, it's going to come up and radiate to the cortex. Okay? Cortical radiate artery. All right? So that's these guys. All right? There's one here, and there's one here. Off of that cortical radiate artery, we're going to have the afferent arteriole going into that glomerulus, forming that glomerulus, that little bundle of blood vessels, and then it comes out the efferent arteriole. Okay? So we can see there's lots and lots of those branches off of the cortical radiate artery. Okay? Now, after it comes out the efferent arteriole, we see on this side, in the cortical nephron, looks like a big hairnet, and it changes color. These are the peritubular capillaries. Okay? So these are all surrounding the proximal convoluted tubule, distal convoluted tubule. Okay? Here we get exchange of gases, but we also get the, things are concentrated in the urine, okay? Or I need to get rid of excess water, I need to get rid of sodium, I need to keep it, whatever. This is where really kind of that interface is another business end of the nephron, okay? Because the end result is you're basically detoxifying your blood, your plasma, okay? So after it goes through the blood supply, goes through this peritubular capillaries, it goes out into the cortical radiate vein. Okay? That cortical radiate vein comes down here. Now we're in the arcuate vein. Okay? So then we're back on this model. So if I see an arcuate vein here, okay, then it goes between the lobes, interlobar vein, and then all those drain into the renal vein. Okay? So there's no segmental vein, only a segmental artery. All right? So that's the blood flow through a kidney. Okay? So your homework assignment that's due on Thursday looks at blood flow through the kidney and it looks at filtrate flow. Okay? So that's what you're going to figure out. Okay? Where's the plasma becoming urine? Essentially, that's the filtrate flow. And then how is the blood getting into and out of the kidney? Right? So that was also in the notes we went over today in class. All right? So that's kind of what we have on this model. And again, they're color-coded the same. Now, the one that's back there by Ashley and Steve, these are pretty new